Welcome back to class. My name is Naya Abernathy, and I'm your professor here at the Dignity Ambassador Academy. I'm so glad you're here. And before we hop into our class for this learning lab around dignity and emotions, we're going to start with our foundational concept like we always do, which is dignity. Dignity is the intrinsic worth and value each being carries that cannot be taken away. You've got it, I've got it, your friends and family have it, your neighbor, the more than human world, plants, animals, water, trees, all have it. And when we move through the world, aware of and honoring that reality, we move differently with ourselves and with others. And so, welcome into our space of learning and practicing that very thing. Okay, so we're talking about emotional fluency, and last class we talked about practicing with yourself, but now we're going to talk about extending that to someone else, because if you're going to be fluent in a language, you can't just practice alone. You have to speak that language with other people. And that's how you really become fluent and well practiced and versed in it. And so, what does it look like to practice emotional fluency with someone else? Well, first, remember, we practice emotional fluency 3 ways. We notice, right, the self-awareness of what's going on in our body. How are we showing up in a certain experience? How are we feeling? Identifying, I feel blank, right? This is how I'm identifying that. And then can you deepen that identification, right? Can you go into some of those more nuanced outside language words for that we have like on an emotion wheel for our emotions? How do you do that with someone else? You find someone who you could be honest with and you talk to them, you practice, you communicate. I'll say it could be talking, you could type something, you could leave a voice note and have them listen to it and respond later. There's all kinds of ways that you can start this exchange and see how someone bears witness to where you're at, where you can feel known and safe in that space. And then the other question is it reciprocal? Can they also do that same thing with you, right? Can they show up with their emotional experience, even the difficult emotional experiences that we have? And remember, we can assume certain emotions are difficult. However, what makes an emotion difficult is that we haven't had permission or practice experiencing it. So that could be any emotion. Some people haven't had permission or practice experiencing rage. Some people haven't had permission or practice experiencing pleasure or joy. And so it depends on who you are and what your story is. But can we hold that space for one another, right? And then how do you do that? Again, you can just kind of start a conversation. If you want a practice, if you feel comfortable just practicing something with this other person or these other people, the SNAIL practice, which is a couple classes back, is something that you can actually do with others, right? Where each person can go through and you do it together and see how that feels. So that's one way, but I'm interested to hear about ways that you practice emotional fluency in your relationships. So feel free to let me know, and let me know how this practice goes as you stretch it from yourself over to your relationships. And I will see you in the next class.